Thank you so much, Ella, for joining us. So, first of all, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. As always, love chatting to you. So my name is Ella. I'm a nutritionist and I'm also an intuitive eating counselor. So what I do isn't really that much to do with nutrition. I don't give out meal plans. I don't tell you to lose weight. I don't do anything that tells you what to eat, when to eat, and how to eat. What I do is I help you find out what feels good for you in terms of food, in terms of movement, in terms of how you look at your body and how you feel about your body. So basically, unearthing the inner wisdom. So that's what I do in a nutshell.
And it's absolutely amazing being on the intuitive eating journey.
Mm.
Could you tell it? I'm just going to just ask you loads of questions
Mm,
because
please do.
could you explain to people because I think there's a lot of misguided information out there as to what exactly intuitive eating is
Mm,
and what it's not. And I
mhm.
think a lot of diet companies have tried to kind of take over the whole intuitive eating, wording. But yeah, just let us know if you could tell people what exactly it is when you talk about intuitive eating.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that people may have heard about but aren't quite sure about. What does that actually mean? So I can tell you what it isn't. It is not the hunger and fullness diet. A lot of the diet programs that have co-opted intuitive eating into their repertoire and the thing that they use to sell their actual diets, they often say this is intuitive eating, but what they're actually saying is that you eat until you're full and you only eat when you're hungry. And that is not what intuitive eating is about at all. So, intuitive eating, I often explain it as a way of shifting your attention. So, very often our focus and our attention is on external messages. So it's, people telling us you should be eating this, you should be eating more of this and less of that, you should be eating at those times, these are good foods, these are bad foods. So it's all external messages. But what we're doing in intuitive eating is we're shifting that to our internal signals and our cues. Our body will tell us, that felt really good. That didn't feel so good. It will tell us this is what hunger feels like, and this is how it's showing up for us. And it will also tell us, oh, this is what it feels like when we're full. But it'll also help us to kind of work on the emotional side of things. When we eat for emotional reasons, it'll help us explore why we do that. Why do we use food? Why is that our first sort of go-to? It also looks at the messages that we've been told from when we were very little, and how we've sort of shaped our belief system around foods and our bodies, and all of the sort of judgment that comes with that. So it's a very complex thing. It basically looks at the psychological, physiological, and emotional aspects of eating. So it is there's a lot to it, and a lot more than just eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full.
Yeah, and the relationship that we have with food is so, so important. And I say this so often, it's so underrated. People are just focusing on least amount of calories, and then therefore that means that that's healthy, the least amount of fuel for your body, and and forgetting that food is so, so important on so
Mm,
many different levels, and we can't get
totally.
away from that. We can't get away from that fact.
Mm,
And the term sort of in our space, diets don't work, is used a lot. And
mm,
um and I think, for someone like me, previously, that has been dieting, not anymore, I'm happy to say, but I had a lifetime of,
mm,
early teens, adult lifetime of dieting on and off. And when we say that diets don't work, what we mean is long term.
mm,
And you know, it, dieting is basically weight cycling, really, because otherwise there wouldn't be the term back on the diet. And
yeah,
actually, a lot of the time, dieting can do a lot more harm than good. And our approach is taking this sort of intuitive approach towards food and towards exercise. And then it, once we've kind of got our heads around that, then our relationship to our bodies becomes a lot more accepting.
Mm.
And I know a lot of the time, we talk about body positivity and things, and I think that it's important to focus on neutrality first, because even when you go through this process, you're going to have good days and bad days, and and it's all about learning from the bad days and what you can do a little bit better the next day. And I think the really
Mm.
amazing thing that I've heard you say and a few others is that you can't fail at intuitive eating.
No.
It's a
Yeah.
lifestyle, but not in a diet culture way.
Not in a diet culture way. No, it's really difficult not to use those words, but you're so
Yeah.
right. Yeah, you absolutely can't fail. And I think that's where some people get a little bit stuck there, because we're so used to short fixes, a 6-week program, a 12-week program. This is what you do. You follow instructions. Intuitive eating is basically getting rid of all of that and really just explore. Sometimes you explore one thing for weeks on end, but every single day you learn something new. And if things go in, and I use inverted commas here, if they go wrong in your mind, that is not something that's going wrong in intuitive eating. It is another opportunity to learn something and to reflect on something. And that's why I always try and tell people, if you feel like you're failing at it, just reframe that into, oh, this is another opportunity to learn something, because you cannot fail at intuitive eating. It's all about flexibility. So, an example is I talked to a client about this sort of concept of overeating, and that I can't possibly be overeating if I'm eating intuitively. Yeah, hell you can. I overeat all the time because it's bloody delicious food on my plate. So, but it's about, well, how do you deal with it then? Yes, you've eaten more than feels comfortable to you. Are you beating yourself up about it? Or are you saying, actually, these are the reasons why I did, and I'm giving myself some kindness and compassion for it, and I have a reason for it. It was just really good. So I ate a bit more. So it's all about being flexible, about how you deal with food, and not having these very rigid black or white kind of thoughts. Oh, I should be eating that much, I can't eat that much, I should be eating that, I shouldn't be eating that. So it's all about flexibility and exploring, and being kinder to yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a really big thing. It's taking the shame
Mm.
away from
Mm-hmm.
food, and then therefore your body. But
Yeah.
make it sound so simple and straightforward, and it's
Yeah.
definitely not simple and straightforward.
No.
But it's finding that compassion for yourself. Where all of
Yeah.
us are human. You know, diet culture, still fairly new in sort of relative terms. It's not,
Mm.
it's not a natural thing to do. We're not naturally supposed to survive on the smallest amount possible, no matter what
No.
size you are. You know,
Mm.
it's just not a natural thing to do. And so it's no surprising that so many of us do struggle with our body image, and body image healing, body acceptance, body neutrality is a huge part of intuitive eating. It's I
Mm.
guess it's one of the main purposes in a way. It's just to develop your relationship, isn't it? Because
Mm.
a lot of the time,
Mm.
I know you've said in the past that when people come to you, they'll think that, okay, I need to fix my relationship with food, but it's very rarely actually food that you talk about.
Yes, that's so true. Yeah, I mean, we hardly ever speak about food other than in the context of how it's being used. How it's being used as a soother, or something to numb ourselves or to distract ourselves. And when you start digging a little deeper, and you look at why are you doing that? Why are you using food, and what does it symbolize for you? It's amazing what comes up and what we can unearth. And sometimes just simply understanding
Mm.
gives you that compassion that you need to be kinder and nicer to yourself, and say, actually, I didn't have a chance. Obviously, I would use food because that was all that was available to me. So it's just understanding our relationship with food. And it's interesting, you said earlier that our relationship with food is so underrated, and you're so right, it really is. So much rides on it, but then it's so normalized in society to have that disordered relationship with food, isn't it? It's so normalized when someone says, oh, I'm going to be good today, I'm not having the cake, or I'm skipping lunch because I'm going out for dinner, or oh, I don't eat anything after 6. That is so normalized, and people get like a high five for it, and you think,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's disordered eating.
Mm.
But it's just so seen as, oh wow, you're doing so well. And
Yeah.
if you look at it, it is disordered eating.
Yeah,
And
yeah. It's so scary, really,
it really
that
is.
how much it's promoted, especially in the fitness
Mm.
industry,
Oh yeah.
and all under the guise of health as well, which is just,
Yeah.
and I think that one of the things that opens you up for, and it's definitely opened me up to that level of self-compassion, is actually learning what diet culture is,
Mm.
and why it's responsible for a hell of a lot of the way that I feel. And once you
Mm-hmm.
sort of see it, how damaging it can be,
Mm.
um it then it as I say, it opens you up to that self-compassion. It makes you angry, like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still angry, but I'm turning that anger into a passion for my
Yes.
business, and being the strong typical feminist. Oh, she's so angry, but like but for good reason. And I think that it's so important for us to understand that basically diet culture is capitalism. It's
Yeah.
it's about control. It's about you know hiding under the guise of health. And I think this is one of the
Mm-hmm.
really, really good things that you talk about as well, and I talk about massively, is just
Mm-hmm.
kind of rejecting the diet mentality. And that's the first
Yeah.
principle of diet of intuitive eating.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good one to start with, because it kind of is the foundation. If we don't understand that principle, and we don't sort of internalize the fact that diets, intentional weight loss long term doesn't work. It just doesn't for the majority of people, and there's good evidence for it as well. So it's not just like airy fairy stuff that we're sort of plucking out of the air. It really, there is evidence for it. And as you mentioned before, the dangers of weight cycling and the dangers of intentional weight loss to our body physically, to our mind psychologically, and to our how we feel about ourselves emotionally, that's all really, really important. But then also understanding that we're being conned by, I mean, this is the only industry that I personally know of that sells a faulty product, and we're coming back to it over and over and over again. You wouldn't just go and buy a fridge that doesn't cool your stuff
Yeah,
and say, oh well, maybe we
give it
didn't,
another go.
maybe we put it in the wrong place. But with a diet, when it fails, it fails. The We say, oh, we didn't do it right. We put the blame on us, but it's the product that's faulty. The
Yeah,
diet
yeah.
isn't working. So it's one of those things that you think, wow, they are so clever to sell a product that they
Mm.
probably know themselves doesn't work. Otherwise they wouldn't be reinventing it. And I think you said right at the beginning, if it did work, then we'd only ever go on one diet, wouldn't we?
Yeah, yeah, and we'd all be one size, because apparently
We'd all
only
be the
one size
same.
is
Yeah,
healthy. The
absolutely,
normal,
exactly.
quote unquote, with the BMI scale, as long as we're in that category, then we're all
That's
healthy.
it.
And
Yeah.
it's bonkers, really, when you
Mm.
actually sort of unstrip it, and you
Mm-hmm.
you look at it, with a critical, view, and just that. I'm just seeing, I think we've got some comments, or we
Okay.
might not have. One of the things that I was going to say was, because one of the
Mm-hmm.
questions that I get quite a lot is, if somebody still feels they need or they want to lose weight,
Mm-hmm.
how do you approach that? Like, what advice would you say? If people are someone's very, very aware of, like, my diets haven't been working, my relationship with food sucks, but I still want to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And you know what? A lot of my clients are in that place where they feel like, I really can't do this anymore. However, I would still love to be smaller. I would still like to lose weight. And I completely validate that because, of course you would. This society is mean to people in larger bodies. It's a natural want, a natural wish to be smaller so that you get what smaller people get, and you get the same kind of treatment. Of course, it makes complete sense. But what I say when I work with people is, can we put that on a shelf for a bit while we explore all of the other things? This weight loss wish and the desire to be smaller, I'm not going to take that away from anybody. That's not my job. That's not my role. And you have full autonomy to do whatever you need with your body. But what I ask is, can we maybe put the focus away from that for a little while and explore all of the other things? And then if you still feel like that is what you want to do, then absolutely, that is your choice. What I want people to understand is that you can have so much more freedom if your mindset isn't on weight loss. You can have so much more joy with food. You can have so much more so many more options to go out and to go out for meals and to socialize with people. You will find so many foods that bring you joy and enjoyment. You will be able to listen to what your body tells you, when you're hungry, because often when we follow a diet plan, that is overridden and we don't actually know when we're hungry. We're just eating when we're told to, and we're eating what we're told to. So there is just we can't actually hear any of the internal signals. So I want to work with people on that, and
Yeah.
then they can still decide. The choice is there. It's always going to be there.
And this is the thing, there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to lose weight.
No.
It's as you said, it's completely understandable. And
Mm.
when when I talk about sort of anti-diet, non-diet, it's
Mm-hmm.
not done with a judgment on people that
No.
want to lose weight.
No.
It's just giving them another option, and letting them know that actually there is another option. Because
Mm.
if diets haven't worked in the past, then maybe try not dieting, or maybe try,
Mm-hmm.
as you say, like when we say not dieting, it doesn't mean give up on health. In actual
Mm-hmm.
fact, it's the opposite. You
It's the
can't have
opposite.
mental without physical. They're all it's all one.
Absolutely.
It's all combined. And and it's focusing on behaviors that are going to benefit you
That's
mentally
right.
and physically, away from the focus on intentional weight loss, and trusting that
Mm-hmm.
body is an amazing thing. It keeps you alive like every
Mm-hmm.
single second, and it's going
Mm-hmm.
to know where the weight falls. And that's going to be different for different people,
Mm-hmm.
because that's how it's supposed to be. We're not all supposed to be one size. And that's
Exactly.
that's it's and then it's finding acceptance in that. It's really, really
Mm.
complex and complicated topic
Yeah.
for people to get
Yeah.
their heads around as well, especially
Yeah.
if diets is what we've all ever known. And I suppose most of us
Yeah.
haven't
Yeah.
really known there was another way. So we're
No,
just sort of
exactly.
putting it in front of everyone and saying there is
There is
another way.
another way. And what?
Yeah.
But the thing is that the taking the diets away from people is a really scary thing, because what else is there?
Mm,
If I can't go on a diet, there's no hope. And I use, again, air quotes there. There's no hope. But I think the important question is the why, is your intention. Why do you want to lose weight? And there are lots of different reasons. um, a lot of the reasons have to do with a worry, a fear. um, I think a lot of people think that if they're smaller, they will be automatically healthier. That is a complete and utter myth. There's no evidence to support that at all. A lot of people fear that if they are in a larger body, they're not as attractive, as lovable, all of those kind of things. That is a real fear. So we need to kind of work on the fear. What is it that's underlying? What is your reason for wanting to lose weight?
Mm.
And that can be really challenging, and that can be really hard for people to go through. And that's often where people get a little bit stuck. But then people like you and me and anyone in the non-diet space are there to support them. And, you know, there's so many free resources, there's courses like ours,
Mm.
there is books, podcasts. You can do one-to-one work with people if you really wanted to dig a little bit deeper. So there are ways of working through this challenging kind of aspect of it. But it's really important to ask that question: why do you want to, why, where's that wish coming from?
Yeah. No,
Mm,
that's really, really good advice. Yeah,
mm,
so the what we'll do is I'll pop underneath the once we publish this live, your details of
mm,
people if they want to get in contact with
yeah.
one-to-one intuitive eating counselling.
Mm,
But then also we'll let you know that there is the lovely Ella does an intuitive eating course called Trust Your Choices as part of our membership. And that starts in January. And yeah, and
a
we'll
week from today, isn't it?
oh my
I just
goodness.
realized.
Oh my goodness,
Yes.
that's really come around quickly.
It has
Yeah,
come around quickly.
but it's a really, really great one. The last time we did it, everyone kept in touch afterwards. They created a WhatsApp group, and and everybody bonded. So basically you start off, we go through each principle one a
Mm,
week. Then you do, it's a whole hour each week. The first half is going over the principle, and the second half is like sort of Q&A and a discussion, and
mhm,
that's where the real value comes in,
mm,
because all of the recordings are available for the members,
mm,
but it's that bit of that support, and knowing that you're not the only one that thinks like that and that feels like
yeah.
that, and and it's really quite special, and it sounds really cheesy, but it really is, I think.
It really is. It was honestly, the last cohort was, I mean, it was just so beautiful. I was just so looking forward to seeing them every week because they really engaged, and there was so many questions, and there were experiences that were shared, and there were some people who've been on the intuitive eating journey and body acceptance journey for a bit longer that could then support the ones that literally just started out. And it was just lovely, and I'm so pleased to hear that they're still in touch, and they had a little WhatsApp group that they put together, and it was just beautiful, so lovely.
I think when you bond over food, I think
Mm.
because that's what a lot of the diet companies do, don't they? They'll
Mm-hmm.
sort of, create that. But when you do it
Mm.
in an opposite way of, like, doing it for rejecting diets and talking
Mm.
about it on a much, much deeper level, it is quite amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, anybody that wants to join, the membership doors are open at the moment. They do
Great.
open and close at various times, just so that we can keep up the level of service. Just because it's so important to me for to keep up that level of service, especially in the
Mm.
fitness industry, when so many of us have been let down in the past. I think
Mm.
that it's showing you that fitness isn't all bad, and we all genuinely do care, especially in this non-diet sort of space.
Mm.
And we know that sometimes if you have had a bad relationship with food and with fitness, it can be quite scary
Mm.
and intimidating. So we want to
Mm.
make sure that we're there for you. So that's basically why, one of the reasons why we do that. So the doors are going to be open until early January, and then they'll reopen again at some other point, to be confirmed. But yeah, so get yourself on there, and it's a 3-day free trial. And you can message either one of us to find out more about the membership, and if you've got any specific questions about intuitive eating, Ella is definitely the person
Yeah,
to ask.
please just get in touch. I'm very happy to. And if you have any worries about joining the course because you may have a bit of a rocky history with food, um, please just get in touch. I'm very happy to answer any questions if you have any worries or concerns, or if you just want to know a little bit more about what the course entails. I mean, as Kim said, it'll be going through the 10 different principles of intuitive eating. There are 10, yes, quite a lot. That's what I mean. It's a complex thing. It's not just hunger and fullness. So there's a half an hour input, and then as Kim said, there's a chat afterwards and a discussion group and a sharing circle. So there's all sorts of options. But can I just say, you're not maintaining level of service, you're raising the bloody bar every month. There is so much good stuff on your membership. It's just incredible. So I mean, anyone sort of wondering whether they should join, do it, because what you get for your money every month is incredible. You've got so many fantastic people on board. It's so exciting. I'm so excited for you.
So I'm so happy I'm recording this. That's going to be a sound bite for my. I'm just going to just replay that to everyone. Just that bit there. But there's about 70 classes now, live classes a
Amazing.
month. All different types of movement, and there's life drawing, there's book clubs, there's a lot, as Ella's mentioned, there's a lot of free resources out there with various different books. You've got a great source on your website, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got a resources list, because I just think this is so important, and I'd love for 2023 to be a year where people find just more kindness towards themselves, and find a different way of being and eating and moving. So yes, I've got on my website there's a whole list of resources of podcast, books, and places to turn to if you want to find out more.
Yeah, and so that's what really good for one of the things that we do is talk about,
Mm.
some of these books that are absolutely
Mm.
life changing, and it just gives you a
Mm.
different perspective. But